This video is about David Pakman, and I'm going to leave it mostly unedited because it is a rant, it is a rave, but you need to hear this. We are definitely having some growing pains in the Democratic Party. A lot of DSA candidates have been winning. They're just people that want to fight corporate corruption and want to do good policy that help people. The Democratic Party is not reacting well to these DSA wins. We are not big tenting. We are not deciding to look at the value of our DSA party members and to coalesce with them and to work with them. Instead, they're portraying the DSA as if they're more dangerous than MAGA. And guys, that's really fucking pissing me off.
Listen, the Democratic Party is showing the early signs of the same disease that destroyed the Republican Party. I've got so many friends on the left texting me and saying, David, we're not going to allow the same thing to happen on the left that Trump did to MAGA, that Trump and MAGA did to Republicans, are we? Republicans, back in 2010, their leaders laughed at the Tea Party. Conspiracy theorists, they're far-right internet trolls, they're not going to do anything. And then the Tea Party took over local organizations, threatened primaries, built their own media universe, and eventually were part of a process that gave us Donald Trump. The left and Democrats can't make the same mistake. There is a small group of far-left extremists gaining influence inside youth groups and party organizations because they spend all day online organizing and enforcing ideological purity and attacking anyone who disagrees.
Yo, David Pakman, you know what we remember about you, buddy? 1 month into Trump's presidency, you were making videos of oh, I'm going to move out of the country. I'm going to leave because I'm under attack. Dude, you're not even a fighter, bro. You were you keep making videos. Oh, nobody's watching my stuff. They're muting me. I'm being oppressed. I'm going to have to leave the country. And you're wondering why people are partnering up with the people that actually want to do something, that want to, I think people want to take over because people like you are not fighters, David Pakman. Okay? You're sitting there on millions of dollars and safely ensconced. You know, you went to the White House and you met Joe Biden, but you won't call anyone out. You're not throwing a fit about all our money going to fucking, supporting war in the Middle East. And it's not just Trump, okay? A whole lot of the Democratic Party wants to spend money on war in the Middle East too. And they're attacking people that want universal health care. How can you be portraying people who want universal health care as the enemy? What the fuck is that? But he just attributes it. He attributes the rise in power to the DSA as not because of the policies, not because people are fed up, not because, rich guys like David Pakman are getting a tax break and then crying about how they might move away, right? But they're because there's some extremists that are pretty good at organizing and they're cornering kids on the internet and bullying them. Dude, this guy doesn't fucking get it. This guy is a chicken shit. He's a patsy, okay? He is. You are, Pakman. All right, here we go.
There is a small group of far-left extremists gaining influence inside youth groups and party organizations because they spend all day online organizing and enforcing ideological purity and attacking anyone who disagrees. Now, let me be very clear. I am not talking about people who want Medicare for all and affordable housing. I want all that stuff. I'm with all that stuff. I'm a social democrat in the style of Northern Europe. Of course I want those things. These are folks who treat...
Yeah, he wants those things, but he doesn't promote any candidates that are actually going after those things. See, that's what's so crazy. He says he wants them, but he would vote for Haley Stevens. And Haley Stevens doesn't want those things. She's taking $50 million so we can send more bombs to the Middle East, right? He wouldn't vote for the people that actually would get us those Northern European social democrat things. He wouldn't. He would not. But now watch. He's about to go in on the DSA. You ready? Here he goes. Here he goes. Watch this.
These are folks who treat political warfare like a full-time job. And when they can't build their own coalition, they attach themselves to popular causes. They take real concerns about healthcare, housing, police misconduct, and use them to sell what is actually an authoritarian worldview. Now, there are things in DSA, for example, Democratic Socialists of America, that are good and that I agree with. But there's also some stuff in there that I think doesn't make any sense. I saw their new platform. Promises a country where you have no debt, you pay no rent, no mortgage, you receive publicly funded housing, publicly funded retirement, food, education, energy, medicine, transportation. And it sounds incredible because it is incredible.
Now, I would like to pause here and say that here's what's interesting about this, because he is now saying, oh, this DSA future, utopian future is like unrealistic, is what Pakman. Well, what's interesting, guys, is Elon Musk has been kind of saying the same shit, right? Where he's like, yeah, AI and robots are going to make so much abundance that we are looking at a world where there's simply not going to be enough jobs for everybody to have a job. Now, we don't know what that looks like, but it is going to come down to fucking wealth distribution in some way, shape, or form, guys. Like, where the world is changing so rapidly. Now, what's interesting about this, though, is he's about to sort of rail on the DSA. He says, oh, I do agree with some of their things. But, like, again, we don't have to agree with everything about everything as long as we're, like, working for something. But what I am really tired of is I'm tired of hearing people like David Pakman who say, yeah, I support universal health care, but I just don't vote for candidates that are running on a platform of universal health care, and nobody's going to deliver universal health care. I just say I support it, and then I go and get my own, like, platinum, Blue Cross Blue Shield plan with my millions of dollars and my Trump tax cut. Okay? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with having members of your party that are, have some utopian ideals? Can't we shoot for utopia and then fall short and have something better than now? Or do we have to just, we don't want to shake anything up. There's nothing wrong with aiming for utopia and falling short and ending up somewhere far better than where you're at now. But there is something wrong with saying you support all this legislation and then we never actually work toward it. Okay, but here he goes.
How would they create it? Government ownership of the largest corporations and of entire industries, universal rent control, abolishing police and prisons, and abolishing the Senate and replacing our political system. Some of these ideas are reasonable to a degree. For example, I support universal health care, and I've talked about 4 or 5 ways that we could get to it. I want affordable housing, and I've done a dozen interviews with housing experts on what would and wouldn't work to get us there. I support progressive taxation. We need to collect more taxes from the very rich. Voting rights have been hurt in this country. We need police reform. So there's elements of this that are great, and any social democrat like me will tell you we got to do that.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Here's the problem with David Pakman. What he said right there. He said, any social democrat like me will tell you we got to do that. But here's the problem, David Pakman. You'll tell us we got to do that, but those DSA people are the people that will actually do shit that will, like, move us somewhere. Like, you'll tell us what we got to do, but you won't do any of it. You will just sit there with your cushy millions, and when the shit gets hot, you'll talk about how you have to leave the country, and you'll go on your safe shows, and you'll vote for the people that keep funding the forever wars, and you'll stay firmly ensconced up in the top of the capitalist pyramid telling us about all the shit we need to do. But when ICE is actually killing people in the streets, you won't be out there fucking getting sweaty, breaking a sweat to make it happen. And the difference between you, David Pakman, and those DSA people is they're going to be the boots on the ground. So, yeah, I want to let them shake shit up. I want to let those young people that are organizing and that have these big, crazy ideas, I want them to try it. I want him to give him the space to go out there and rattle the fucking cage, because we're going to end up at least somewhere good. Okay, we're going to end up somewhere better than just having some rich social democrat tell us about all the things we need to do while never actually putting boots on the ground.
But you bundle it together, and this fantasy in which capitalism, private industry, and major parts of the government simply disappear, most Americans don't want that. Most Americans understand that there is no way that you could impose that without extraordinary authoritarianism. My one hesitation about confronting this now, and why I went back and forth, is the midterms. Publicly exposing the rot could make moderate voters think the entire Democratic Party has been infected. But I don't think silence is really going to hide it. I saw a crazy thing from the weekend where there was a college Democrats convention, which I was actually invited to participate in, and I couldn't make it. Hassan Piker was dressed like Mao, and I guess Destiny tried to show up, and he was banned from entering allegedly because the Mao-dressed Piker didn't want him there. Republicans are going to put these clips everywhere. Like, people seem crazy when they see this stuff. And
well, look at this. Now he's like, oh my God, like oh, they're going to put these clips out there. They're going to like make us seem crazy. Like, dude, isn't it weird? Isn't it weird how this guy is literally talked about fascism and authoritarianism, but now he's saying you should censor. You need to make sure that whatever you do politically, it fits into pieces that the Republicans won't post to use against you. And it's like, fuck you, David Pakman. They're going to call you a fucking communist. So you may as well be a little bit radical, because they're already talking about communism. They call Kamala Harris a fascist, communist, socialist, Marxist. You dumbass. They've been calling us this shit for 20 years. You're like, oh, let's not make a clip that the Republicans might spread. Like, what the hell, dude? Dude, this guy is such a wimp, dude.
They are going to abolish the police and abolish borders and abolish prisons and play them on a loop for 6 months. If I were an average voter with no knowledge of these online personalities, which most of these people are, most people don't follow this sort of thing. They're busy living their lives and working and doing all this stuff. If I were an average voter with no knowledge of these online personalities, I would find these images and a lot of this stuff very alarming. So as I said last week, and so many of you agreed with me, Democrats must act now and intelligently. The centrists don't really do anything, make very milquetoast fringe suggestions that you don't even really push for. Not working, okay? This other thing of like end everything, it's a sort of destructive accelerationism, that's also not going to work. So I think that what we need here are no apologetics for dictatorship, no apologetics for authoritarianism, no harassment, no anti-Semitism, no allowing online factions to decide which liberals may enter the room. You know, what would I even have been allowed at that college Democrats thing?
Dude, you shouldn't be at the college Democrats thing, David Pakman, because you're like phony, dude. You're phony, bro. What do you even stand for? Right? You just talked about like the centrists as though you're not one of them, when you'll deliver lip service to like fucking whatever. Oh, I believe in all these lofty ideals, but I'm not going to fucking hang out with the people that are really busting their ass to change the system. I'm going to denigrate everybody who's trying to change the system. And you'll notice he doesn't seem to have a problem with us spending a lot of money in the Middle East, okay? Which is crazy, okay? Because he just fucking glossed over the shit. And I don't think it's wrong to want revolution, guys. Like, we need a fucking revolution. We don't need any more half measures, okay? There's a saying in AA that says no more half measures. And it's about, like, sometimes you gotta be bold and you gotta take some radical steps, and you gotta really shoot for the moon and know that, like, if you fall short, that's okay. You're gonna get somewhere. But like half measures, right? Like for example, trying to manage your campaign, worrying about how Republicans are going to use clips. F the Republicans. Why don't you wage your own war instead of worrying about like Hassan and the defund the police and that, oh, they're going to take defund the police and use it against us. How about if you talk about like how defund the police sounds really scary, but really it's just a fucking term that was used to talk about reforming policing so it works better. And like we should be reforming it so it works better instead of running from the phrase defund the police, running from the phrase men and women's sports. It's like I'm tired of letting the Republicans control the narrative because we have wimps like David Pakman that are afraid of like how Republicans are going to react. Like, oh, we better not give them any ammunition. It's like, why? What do you do, Dave? Do you call up the RNC and say, yeah, I was thinking about having a policy position about healthcare, but I just want to run it by the RNC and MAGA first and ask you guys, like, are you going to run any mean ads if I take this policy position? What do you think? It's like, yo, dude, they're going to call you a fucking Marxist, David Pakman, and they're going to make it believable to their brain dead fucking gematria fucking clientele. So maybe you should grow a pair and start defending the people that are fighting for some change and maybe fight for some change yourself. There's room to like diffuse the fear. We can diffuse the fear around their attacks instead of like, oh, they're attacking the people that want healthcare, so we won't have healthcare. Let's not call it Medicare for all. Let's call it maybe you'll get healthcare one day if you get into my income tax bracket. Dude, this makes me so mad, dude.
They invited me months ago. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't go, so we didn't find out. So we just need normal people to participate, join local committees, attend.
Normal people to participate. Did you see what he said there? That's a right-wing statement. We just need normal people to participate. Well, let me tell you, David Pakman, all those far leftists, they're normal people, okay? Right? They're normal people. 𝗙𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪, she's a normal person. She's an activist. She went to Columbia. She's fucking educated. She's a warrior. She's been out on the street, dude, fucking fighting for shit, fighting for change. They're normal people, okay? They're just people that are fed up. They're people that are fed up with rich social democrats talking about everything we need to do while not having the balls to actually show up and fight for any of it. And then the minute the fighters show up, all you do is attack the fighters in your own ranks, okay? You literally, anytime people show up and say, man, I want to shake the system, I want to fight for some change, I want to make some radical change, you're like, no, we need to get the normal people in here. What the fuck is normal, bro?
So we just need normal people to participate, join local committees, attend conventions, get involved with state parties, and let's turn the DNC into something that works. Many reasonable people doing a little can defeat both the centrist do-nothings and the hardcore extremists who would get nothing done.
Now, I would like to point out here, because he said about normal people, but what just happened with the DNC? When a normal person named David Hogg got involved and then he got like forced out. Remember that, guys? Remember when they just tried to, like, a normal person won some shit in the DNC and he got forced out, right? Almost immediately, because he wanted to primary do-nothing Democrats. Right? So he's like, yeah, let's make the DNC into what, David Pakman? Into people that kick David Hogg out because he wants to primary Democrats that do a shitty job? Dude, like, that's fucked up, bro. That's fucked up. And did you notice how he's like, oh yeah, we need to get normal people involved? Yeah, like you, David Pakman, are you a normal person? A guy who was crying 1 month into the Trump administration, crying about how you're going to move to a foreign country because, oh, they're out to get you. Nobody's out to fucking get you. Dude, you know what I mean? And not once has he mentioned about this real pressing issue with people in the Democratic Party who are sick of our money going to pay for bombs in the Middle East. He has not mentioned that once. The biggest rift in the Democratic Party is like a huge portion of them, leftists, progressives, even a lot of the liberals who are sick of funding that Israeli war machine in the Middle East. You haven't mentioned it once. You've glossed over this shit, right? And if you didn't get invited to the college Democrats thing, David, it's because of your stance on that, because all the college kids are wanting to end the fucking destruction, okay?
Republicans believed they were going to control the extremists. They were like, we got these people under control. The extremists took over the party. Democrats can still prevent that outcome, but we've got to get them to get things under control right now. I've said before, I've never been a Democrat. I don't care about the Democratic Party beyond who offers the better candidates, and usually it's Democrats over Republicans. But we've got to make sure that we don't allow that party, if it is the vessel, at least for now, to something better than what Republicans are offering, to be hijacked. This is about let's include, but not allow any extreme faction to take over.
Dude, this stuff makes me mad. It really does, dude. It fucking makes me mad because there's nothing wrong with having some revolutionaries. That's how you shake things up. That's how you like break down structures. And it's important, dude. Revolutionaries are important, guys. Like, my God, if you look at the 60s, when they were trying to end segregation, you didn't end segregation by waiting for everybody to just come around and figure out we needed to end segregation. Everybody knew on some level, but they were programmed to accept it, to exist in it. The white people were like, well, I'm comfortable. If we end segregation, maybe we're going to lose some of our resources because they're going to get some too. And we're good right now. So we're just going to ignore like this shit ain't even going on. But it took revolutionaries. People died. Okay. People lost their lives. Civil rights workers of all colors went down to the South to help defend the people of color, and they got murdered by KKK people. Okay, they didn't sit around saying, we don't want to be too extreme. No, they went and they fucking walked across bridges. They got their asses beat. Some of them got lynched and fucking shot and taken away out into the forests of fucking Mississippi and shit because they were showing up to force change. Okay, sometimes change needs to be forced. All right? You can only like go along and get along for so long. And then eventually you have to butt up against the structure and you have to like knock some shit over. Okay? You have to force certain change. Like what? Like we're not going to fund war in the Middle East anymore. No more. Zero. We're closing the goddamn door on that. Okay? And I don't care. And if we're going to fight in the streets over it, we're going to fight in the streets over it because we're not going to fund any more death and destruction. We're not going to fund any more oil drilling in the goddamn Grand Canyon. I don't want to take my kid to the Grand Canyon and be like, hey, son, look at all the oil wells out there. Look at those nice oil drilling platforms out there in the red rock. Yeah, you hear that sound? That's fracking, son. Yeah, you hear that? You feel that tremoling? How it feels like we're going to fucking fall off the cliff? They're fracking down there, son, in the Grand Canyon. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it great? And now we get to go home and roll our sleeping bags out in the tent we live in next to the data center because we don't have any of the money. All those guys that are fracking, they're living in mansions. But we're going to go home to the tent as soon as we're done watching this beautiful canyon have oil extracted from it. Okay? Isn't it great, son? Love ya. Love ya. But hey, don't be too extreme, okay? Whatever you do, make sure your politics are not too extreme, son. All right. I mean, give me a break, dude. That's grim. I know it's grim. And I don't mean to be grim, but like it's getting to that level of hyperbole. The level of ridiculousness we're living in is like approaching that. I mean, look at Donald Trump. Look at him give a press conference. He gave a 2-minute spiel about childcare where he said childcare is childcare. And then the New York Times was like, oh, Trump outlined his plan for, childcare. It's like, no, he didn't. He didn't say anything. He said childcare is childcare, and he rambled a fucking word salad for 2 minutes, and you just made him sound like he knew what the fuck he was talking about. And now we're bombing Iran, and it cost me $200 to fill my goddamn gas tank. I can't even buy my kid a Christmas present. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yo, political punk here. I know, it's killing me. Seriously, guys, if you like what we do around here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and turn those noties on. And I wouldn't be anywhere without the members. So if you want to hit the join button, we really appreciate that too. Thank you so much, guys. It's getting crazy out there, and I'm just really glad to not be going through this alone. All right? All right, keep your chin up. Let's go, boss. All right, fuck you. Bye-bye.